Devil Hunter's Chainsaw Man chapter 157 titled College Fun begins the prison break arc and reunites us with the return of a beloved character with an unexpected yet predictable team up we should have seen coming. Now there's a big glaring talking point I missed in last week's chapter that's going to roll over into some of the curiosity that people have about this chapter, in which that how did I forget the part where Denji's right leg got severed numerous times, and will that come back into the story later? Well, one can say the surgeons are just operating and cutting Denji's right leg because they want to learn the process of how devil regeneration works and why it works. And then there's maybe another possibility that, well, they're using all of Denji's right legs to feed weaker devils so they can become stronger devils, because as you know, in the world of Chainsaw Man, if devils eat and consume the flesh of stronger devils, then they become stronger themselves. So they could potentially be creating an army of fake Chainsaw Men to combat the army of fake Chainsaw Men that the church has pretty much incited. But clearly we should know that hybrids, devils, and fiends themselves have the ability to regrow and regain ligaments if they consume blood. So now let's actually use that insight and knowledge into Asa Mitaka and why she doesn't have an arm. Now, how did Asa lose the arm? Well, if you guys can remember, Asa lost her arm when she was battling Yoshida, but we see in this chapter, and even Fami comments on Asa's missing arm and whether or not she'll be okay. And we know Asa, it hasn't fully been classified yet, but would you guys consider her to be a super fiend? She doesn't really have the characteristics of a fiend. She's not outright a hybrid. Regardless of how you classify her, she should have the same abilities to regrow her arm. So why hasn't she regrown it? Well, Occam's razor, and we'll talk about Occam's razor too, simply means sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution. And if Asa hasn't regrown her arms, we just haven't seen her consume the flesh and blood of a human or another devil. That is probably my easiest explanation. Why she doesn't have one now, I don't know. But now on the other flip side of that coin, as so many people really wanted Reze to appear in this chapter, guess who showed up? It was Asa Mitaka with Fami, an unexpected duo, and I'll talk about that later too. But man, oh man, guys, you guys know I am one of the biggest Reze glazers on this channel. How many times I brought up Reze and if she's going to return, and people are a little bit worried on whether or not the bomb girl is going to arrive. I'm going to tell you, yes, she's going to arrive, and yes, she's most likely in this prison. And one more time to reiterate, no way Fujimoto will bring up 6 out of the 7 hybrids and leave out the most popular one. So Reze is here, so relax on that front. But for people who thought it was Reze who was going to show up at the end of chapter 156, when that public safety devil hunter said the only way this public facility can be broken out of is if there's a war, emphasis on war, how did people think it was Reze as opposed to Asa Mitaka? Literally blows me away. Guys, I have one of the biggest monkey brains in this community, but come on, you should have seen it a mile away, okay? So remember, Occam's razor, sometimes the simplest and most logical solution is probably the solution. That's not to say we aren't caught off guard with what Fujimoto does in this story. Many times, Fujimoto's unpredictability is probably the best thing that Chainsaw Man has going for itself, but the nuances with the subtle line of only a war can break out Denji from this facility heavily alluded to it being Asa Mitaka. And I would even just say one final thing on that note as well, that we haven't seen the Death Devil, and some people are thinking it could definitely be a guy. Guys, if you look back throughout all of Chainsaw Man, all of the most badass villains, antagonists that we've gotten so far, the majority of them, the overwhelming majority of them have been women. So I'm telling you right now, the Death Devil is, well, Lady Death, okay? So now with that out of the way, let's actually go ahead and discuss the chapter itself, where Asa and Fami stand outside the complex gates, with Asa asking Fami why they're in school uniforms, to which she responds that they're the least suspicious outfits they have. She explains that the facility is surrounded with sensors that will turn on the turrets, killing them in an instant, only for Yoru to interject, asking her older sister where Chainsaw Man is, to which Fami reveals that he's in the 3rd floor of the basement, which can only be accessed from the main gate of the building, which is the War Devil's task to destroy it. Now, Fami being here is a bit of an unexpected surprise. We obviously expect her teaming up with Asa and Chainsaw Man, and potentially Nayata, assuming she's alive, to face the Death Devil at the very end of the story to prevent the Nostradamus prophecy from happening. However, her coming in here to save Chainsaw Man when the Chainsaw Man Church wanted Chainsaw Man, but she sent out all those hybrids to attack Denji. So for her to come early now must mean that maybe Public Safety Devil Hunter has a one-up on Fami right now, and for her plan to be fully executed, she just has to team up with Asa and Yoru right now to help Denji escape. However, although two horsemen working together isn't the unlikely alliance that anyone should be surprised about, what we should be upset about is Asa being so naive, bringing up and asking Fami if by defeating Chainsaw Man will they indirectly save Chainsaw Man at the same time. And because Asa feels obligated into saving Chainsaw Man because Chainsaw Man has saved her time and time again, she's going along with this plan. And now this is where we see some really cool things happening in this chapter, because as Asa and Fami walk towards the facility, public safety staff goes ahead and summons some turrets to shoot them. However, Asa manages to hijack the turrets without even needing to touch them, with Fami explaining that Asa owns the turrets due to signing a contract that the Famine Devil herself wrote. You know, Fami even mentions in this chapter, oh my god, you've actually gotten so much stronger, you don't even need to touch the weapons, that you can turn things into weapons without even touching them. But the other subtle part of Asa and Yoru's weapon transformation into turning whatever's hers into a weapon depends entirely on both of theirs personal perception. So even if something obviously doesn't actually belong to them, as long as they view it as theirs, they can turn it into a weapon. We've seen this in the case of the aquarium arc, and when Asa and Denji collected 1,000,000 yen, and then Asa closed her eyes into saying, now this aquarium belongs to me, and she turned it into a weapon. We're seeing the same case here again. With all the funding that she has, thanks to the church and all the money she collected, which by the way, 1.3 million yen is not a lot of money. It's a little over $8,000. So that sounds like a hefty sum amount of money into believing, if you ask me anyway, that hey, is a turret worth $8,000? Well, if Asa believes it and she signed this contract officially saying so, then yeah, she's going to believe it. Now that this is the second time that this has been specifically stated, and we saw examples of it with the aquarium, we're seeing it here happening with the turret, you better believe the relationship that Asa and Denji have is somehow going to work in the War Devil's favor into turning Chainsaw Man into a weapon. And if you guys don't think that's going to happen, that's fine, but I'm just saying there's too many things heavily alluding that Chainsaw Man will be the weapon at some point for Asa Mitaka. Whether or not Denji comes back into the story afterwards, it will be determined, but for now we have to keep this special fact in the back of our minds. As long as Asa can perceive that it's hers and she thinks it's hers, then she has the ability to control X weapon. That being said, they break into the facility with the turrets, and one of the security officers recognizes that Asa is a member of the Chainsaw Man Church. Fami informs Asa that the upcoming weapons facilities weren't a part of the contract that they conjured up, so she'll have to engage them personally. But Asa claps back and saying she's missing an arm, so Fami should be able to help her. Fami explained that she's their last resort before stopping Asa from entering the guard's line of sight. And arguably the best thing that comes from this chapter is when Fami tells Asa, hey, you have gotten so much stronger, but this mission is life or death, and one small mistake, you can cost us the entire mission. To which Asa says, sure, I got it, I believe you. In perfect signature Asa clumsy fashion, she trips and falls, getting the attention of the people within the devil facility, and now engage into a battle with the high school girls as Fami whips out one of those dolls and says, what a klutz. And it seems like the second part of the prison arc is going to be very exciting, because the last time we saw Fami drop a little doll, it turned out to be a primal devil. So will we see a primal devil here? I don't know. That will be extremely hype, because we know Fami is working with some of the strongest devils in this verse. And more importantly, like I said last week, there's a very strong chance that Reze is here. And because Reze is a hybrid, I would just love to see this love triangle between Asa, Reze, and Denji. And then even in a dark, twisted part where maybe Asa doesn't have an arm now, but she could potentially regrow one because she's going to use the abilities of the Bomb Devil in her arsenal. But luckily for us, we don't have to wait too much longer to know the answers, because the bi-weekly devil is missed one more time. So we will have the answers to everything that goes down next week. And finally, on a more serious note, to all the people who thanked me for what happens with my Meowie waffles, so many of you were so kind in the comment sections, and I just want to reiterate to to every one of you who have pets. Hold them, tell them you love them so much, because you don't know when they're going to unexpectedly be taken away from you. And to everyone who has said nice words, thank you so much. You guys are incredible, and this is why this community is awesome. So let's go ahead and talk more in detail about the live discussion of Chainsaw Man, which you can go ahead and click right here.